All right. We are on. So, as you can see, small changes to the layout. Not massive changes, but there is some. And why isn't that working still? Why has the things like the donation thing and so on, like not registered? I don't get it. Like I can see the notification window, but there's nothing in there. And let's do a test, see if it even works. I know you can like test follow. You see?
Right.
That works, right?
Oh,
You see,
great
donation
Odin's
works.
raven.
But where's the scrolling thing? Why isn't... It's super weird. I don't understand why it's not working. Hey, Jacob Mobley. Like I can do those tests, right? I can prompt them on the stream, but not... Let's do one more, just a test, right? I see it on the stream in the OBS, and now I gotta double check if it shows on the yeah, it does. So why isn't it? And there isn't the donation scrolling thing either. Or maybe actually I did... No, it's not showing. It's bugged. It's broken. I can't edit it. Hey, good morning, Shirstrand. Shut up. Alright. I don't know what the problem is. I need to dig out the cause of it. Anyways, as you can see, Amir, he suggested I change the logo. So I tried his version today. Hey, Georg. So the countdown is on the logo. Hey, how cool isn't that? Right. So let's do this. So let's group all of this, all the line art, except that line art. That needs to be grouped as well. And let's actually start doing some like basic blockings. So we can start understanding all the relationships. So I'm probably going to do it quite rough for now, just so I can kind of get the idea of placement of everything. So we know, like, okay, they are here, the space aliens over there. I mean, obviously now I'm a very heavy-handed. I need to go in and adjust the edges. But we gotta see where I need to add more details. Because I don't want to just populate the image with lots of details that doesn't matter in the end. I want to strategically place more details. So what I want to do now is kind of get the basic block out of all the relationship between the areas of the picture, so I know, okay, more details over here, more details over there, etc., etc. But I don't understand this OBS with donations. I need to go back in and look at the, I guess, the way how to set it up, because I can't even, in OBS, I can't even right click to fix it. It's like broken, completely broken, which is really weird. I can't go in and edit that channel. You know, you should at least be able to go and edit the path or something, but it's just locked. So what I think I might have to do is go back in and maybe something is weird. Hey Quentin, hey, you like it, Jacob? That's cool, man. The logo is counting down. Thanks to Amir, or one Amir, for the suggestion. I mean, obviously, yesterday I knew the logo was a little bit. It was a placeholder, obviously. I just copy pasted the one from the website, because the website uses a vertical layout. But I think the one on the website needs an overhaul as well. I just put the logo on the website to have something, right? So it's just not the whole. If you guys remember the whole thing about my lecture, and I was going to talk about 30-minute warm-up, so I just wanted something online because I didn't have the time to do it properly because of many reasons. But yeah. I'm starting to have the need to start updating that as soon as I finish some contracts. Because of the contracts, there's a lot of character designs I have like extra on my spare time at night, which I've obviously run past the studio first. But it requires me to pay attention to the client, right? The extra client. So I don't want to, you know, ignore a paying customer just for the website. So I want to make sure the website is, it was at a good enough state. I mean, obviously I didn't sleep as much during the IFCC period. But then I also, I want to make sure the client is happy with the contract, everything is finished, and then I can start putting time into the website, which I'm looking forward to do. Like start building it for you guys, start collecting streams from you that you guys do, and making like a gallery of streams. That's one of the ideas. I want to have like an art station, but for streamers, in a way. I want to see what that looks like. I think the idea is cool. So that's something I'm working towards, but we'll see. That's great, Jacob Molly. And looking forward to see where you take your entry. Actually, it's a really cool so far, and you got many days left, so that's awesome. All right, so we got Samus. Let's put some, for now, white puffs of smoke. Let's switch that off. Seven minutes to do Samus. That's not a good start. But what one good thing though, doing the blocking on multiple layers, I can easily go in and like carpet bomb the background. And obviously I need to go and do proper like what's it called? Erase overlay lines and so on. But that comes later. I don't want to sit and spend time making perfect interaction between lines until I know that it's the final image, right? Or at least starting to work towards the final image. Then I can start erasing lines that are overlapping. There is some overlaps here and there. I've been trying to stay clean, but there is some dirty parts of the image, but that, whatever. That'll come. So, same as blast. Is that? It's like a plasma ball, right? Like she shoots. She doesn't shoot colored plasma, right? It's just like fire or blue. I need to Google that actually. By the way, can someone unfollow and follow to check she shoots blue, purple, red, green. Oh, thanks internet for helping me solve the problem. Like the whole crayon box of colors. Oh, it's Super Metroid. Shooting rockets. Screw it. I can't spend time on it. Hey Seth, welcome. Is it blue? All right. Let's use this color for now. And whoa. And then I'll. Why is there a spike? Why is my hard drive like taking a knee? Or is it RAM maybe? I don't think I understand this sometimes. It just doesn't want to play. I think it might be. I don't know why it does this actually. It's not very often, but it occurs, like this lag. So, blue. All right, so that works now, Georg. Awesome. All right, cheers for checking that. All right, so at least we know that works for some reason. Maybe I was messing around with settings for donations, and it's going to be messed up until someone donates. That might be the case. All right. Anyways, I was going to ask people to donate to try. When time comes, when there is a donation, that I'll see if it works, or I'll do some research trying to figure out what like what's happening there on that front. But the reason, the fact that I can't even right click to check settings on the donation part of OBS is a little bit worrying. You see this lag? This usually don't happen. Like what the? Something is fishy. Hey, Billionaire, welcome. Hey, that's cool, Seth. I'm glad that you could make it. I mean, soon everyone is going to start going back to regular life, with kids and all that, because school starts, summer ends. So hopefully we'll start seeing more of what used to be the regulars coming back, right? But I'm very glad to see another face, and by the looks of things, power user, a turbo user. Apparently, you're just a little bit extra. What does a turbo user mean? Is it like you pay or you get extra abilities? You're ninja? Let's try to pick the speed up, but this lag is super annoying. It just acts really odd. Something is running in the background, taking RAM. I was listening to a lot of discussions lately, like discussions where both parties are actually good at making their point, and I think that's so important for a correct discussion to happen is when both are arguing the point and can concede if they're actually wrong and and adjust their argument. There's so many God, this is completely off topic. There's so many people who just wants to win regardless of if they're right or wrong, right? And that's so funny to hear, and I know a lot of people who are like that. They don't care, they just want to win. Oh really, Seth? Oh, that's pretty cool. So you won some sort of creative art competition then. That's pretty cool. What was the competition? That sounds like a fun thing to do and keeping your eyes out for creative art competitions. But by the sounds of things, it doesn't happen anymore, which is a shame in that case. I'm just jumping from topic to topic here. Scattered brain this day. Halloween themed challenge 2 years ago. Uh, Georg, yeah, in this in particular, what happened was I listened to this guy called Ben Shapiro, which is some American uh, professional discusser. You know, he's a clever guy, and he has good points when he discusses, and uh, and there's a lot of attempt at discussing things. But the weird thing also with like TV show discussions, for example, those few that I listened in on like American TV, is a little bit. It's just it's this really weird mind state that the people talking have. It is not actually a discussion. It's just people making their point without even listening to the other person. So it's those are not that interesting to listen to, but I tend to go to um, not really these social justice warrior YouTube clips, not that many, but mostly university discussions and lectures. I find that a lot of them are very interesting, of just hearing people very engaged in a topic and listening into the arguments. You kind of, even though maybe starting off in the discussion, you're not very familiar with the topic, but listening in on people discussing it, you quickly get assimilated with like whatever they're talking about. You can pick up the slack quite significantly by just listening in on two really good, smart people that can argue their point, you know. Because when they're good enough at discussing something, they're not pushing an agenda that far. They're actually listening and argumenting about one thing or the other. One thing that was really cool, I remember like a year ago, um, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he has a panel, I think, every year where he invites scientists of different kinds, and they sit and argue. And that's a real interesting thing uh, to listen in on, and like how they push their point in a, you know, in a level-headed way most of the time. Bjork, yeah, I mean, obviously, just because you're listening in on a discussion doesn't mean you have to have this exact same point of view. But I mean, like I said, the ability to say when someone is right or wrong, um, in the sense of, you know, like I don't need to win the discussion, or I can concede, and so on. I think it's a trait that not a lot of people have. And I think Shapiro, even though he seems quite aggressive in his standpoint and the way he discusses, he's an intelligent man and he can concede a point um, when the opposite uh, proves him wrong. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen that often in discussions. So, it, though at least the ones I've listened in on. And he had a really cool point. Uh, you know, there's a lot of people talking about gender roles, especially in America, right? The whole you need to respect the prepositions, you know, like they and whatever. And he made a really good point. It's really hard to argue. If you Google it or YouTube it, it's like Ben Shapiro, why are you not 60? It's a really interesting point. Georg, yeah, exactly. I mean, that just shows that he doesn't just push the agenda, right? He actually discusses things, which is an interesting. I mean, like I said, I don't really subscribe to absolutely everything everyone says in any discussion I'm listening in on. Um, so I'm just kind of joining in for the ride of listening into these people discussing. Um, but it's interesting to listen in and you learn and educate yourself really with, if you don't try to take a stand as you're listening, you know, who's right or wrong, and just listening to the arguments, it becomes a really interesting thing to sit in on. And, you know, as a bystander in that discussion, you don't necessarily you can't do retorts. You just have to listen to what they are saying, which is also an interesting aspect of it. Besides, it's a great thing to sit and listen to on one ear while working. But this Neil deGrasse Tyson yearly panel discussion, that's a really interesting thing to listen in on. So if you want to have listen to some cool scientists with pretty good point of views, discuss scientific topics, probably you just YouTube Neil deGrasse Tyson yearly panel discussion. They're really good. He has maybe 5 or 6 of them on stage, and he's like the guy talking, moderating, and it, like puts in his point of view now and then. But mostly he keeps the discussion going in an interesting direction. York, yeah, exactly. I heard about that as well. I had a discussion about the gender pronouns. That was the name, and so on with a lawyer here. Not like on any legal matter, but the way he is thinking. Lawyers in general, they have a very specific way of thinking about problems because they can't just see it from one side. They have to um, see it from more than one side, especially if they are like lawyers that are in court arguing sides, right? They need to be able to be objective, so on. So I found that in general, discussing things with a good lawyer uh, generates some interesting topics because they excuse part of the pun, but they play devil's advocate a lot. By saying, all right, what if this is true, right? And then they argue another point just to test the argument, um, the viability of an argument, right? To disprove the devil's advocate argument, like the statement rather, which is also a very constructive way to argue a point, um, or discuss a point rather. Anyway, so I was talking to him about it, and with my wife at the same time, and it's a really interesting, touchy subject about. Uh, a lot of people are arguing that they need to respect their pronouns, right? Um, I'm all for it, for people to do whatever they want to do, but I was arguing the point that if you have to make other people do that by law, you open up like a lot of gray zone scenarios, which becomes a really odd point. Like the lawyer guy, he argued that there is no law stating that men need to go to the men's bathroom in that way. There's a social law. But if there is a law stating that this person, like transgender, whatever, in this very specific state, uh, transitioning or whatever, whatever details that law specifies is arbitrary. But the fact that there is a law in that then, uh, creates really odd special treatment. That I'm not making the point here very clear, but there was a long discussion with him, and I mean I do agree that like there's a lot of you have to be respectful for whatever other people want. If someone like want to be a 7-year-old kid when they're 40, go ahead, but don't make it a law that I have to deem the 40-year-old as a kid. That argument. But then if it's a law stating that you should be able to be a 7-year-old kid as a 40-year-old man, in theory he can go to second grade if it's by law. But then you have to then what? Add a clause in the law stating that this artificial 7-year-old is void of education. But then you need to specify what education is this person void of, because anyone can go to university. So then you need to do you see how that kind of goes south quite fast? And we were discussing also about like transgender. Of course, you should be able to be transgender, but what if in these situations that occur where transgender join, a man transitioning to a woman joins all woman fighting competition, like mixed martial arts, and physically it's a man, higher density bones, more muscle mass, just manhandling women. Is that legal? I mean, if it's a law that he's a woman, then you can't say that it's illegal. Yet he has his born benefits, physical traits of a man. It opens up a really, really wide net if you're going to start defining things by law, which is more socially regulated. Like men don't hit women because men are stronger than women. And but then there is a law stating you can't hit anyone. But then, like, if you write that law that men are not allowed to hit women, then are women allowed to hit men? Or is it socially controlled? Or is it just a general law? It opens up all these weird points of discussion, right? So that was a really fun discussion to have with a lawyer, listening in on his point of view of like what is acceptable and not acceptable from a point of law, and him switching the topic around a lot and arguing different points from different point of views, which was really refreshing, like as a discussion to listen in on, and or not listen in on, but to participate in. Listening to him having his arguments, like, was really really informative and a fun discussion to have with a guy that capacity. It's a really smart guy. So I thoroughly enjoyed that talk with him about arguments about that. I'm, like I said, I'm all for it. Do whatever you want. If you want to be a woman, go ahead and change yourself into what looks like a woman. But you can never change the biological makeup of your body, right? The chemical process, the chromosome, all these things. So, we also discussed the point of professional soldiers. It's a really interesting point as well about transgenders and capacity, physical capacity. That Ben Shapiro discussed that as well on this podcast called Joe Rogan Experience. You probably know about it, but he has lots of interesting people there, and he usually has great discussions in a way where it's an open way of discussion without just wanting to win. He listens in on people, whatever they're talking about, and tries to have a constructive discussion, which is fun to listen in on. A lot of times you don't necessarily need to subscribe to what's being said, but listening in on a discussion is always interesting. One interesting, cool episode of Joe Rogan Experience, the podcast, was when he had people that are saying that the world was hit by a comet that ended like a human civilization, and they were arguing all this proof that they had, like geological proof and so on, and then they had debunker sitting and trying to debunk each of their statements, which was a really fun discussion to listen in on. For now, I'm not remembering what they were called. So good discussion. Okay, time's up. I need to just put the smoke in on the feet here, and then I have to call it a day for the stream. So, all right, glad to see at least the follow function works. I don't understand why the donation thing I can't even edit. I might need to redo that. Maybe I messed something up clicking buttons. I don't really know. But it's such a fickle system, this OBS, in a way, where one little click and then you have to redo it in the correct way and so on. And, whatever. I'll figure it out, hopefully. Hopefully it's not going to be that I need someone to donate for me to be able to figure out what's the matter. So let's put just a tone on the background. There we go. We're getting somewhere. All right, so thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks for listening in on my rant. It was an odd rant today, but hopefully you didn't mind. So have a good evening. Have a great day. Catch you on Discord. See you tomorrow at the same time. Hopefully, I'll sort the things out. For some reason, it doesn't work. All right. Have a good one, everyone, and see you tomorrow. Outro time. Princess Wave.